You know, I told you last week, Mark's gospel moves very quickly. And so, several chapters before this, Jesus asked his disciples, who do you say that I am? Who do people say that I am? And Peter was the one that got the right answer. And he said, you are the Messiah. And so then when Jesus starts to tell him and the other disciples that he must go to Jerusalem to be arrested and that he's going to be crucified, Peter says, no, 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 no. And so Jesus rebukes Peter, but what he knows is that the disciples do not have a clear picture of who he is and what kind of Messiah he is. They just have a clouded view of that. They've got their own ideas about who he should be and who he is. And so now we jump forward to this chapter, and they're trudging up a mountain. Now by now the disciples have learned not to ask a lot of questions because they usually ask the wrong questions. So they don't know where they're going. They're on a hike. They're going up a mountain. Are they going to meet somebody? Are they going to a holy place? Are they going up there to pray? They don't know. They're just trudging up a mountain. And so suddenly they stop at this place, and Jesus is changed right before their very eyes. It says his face, his clothes, he's kind of glowing. I can't imagine really what that looks like. And then as if that weren't enough, Moses and Elijah are suddenly there talking with him too. Moses representing the law, Elijah representing the prophets, and they're all talking. And it says the disciples were terrified. And so Peter, he blurts out, this is great, let's have a building project. Let's make some tents, let's make some structures here. He would have been a good Methodist, right? When all else fails, let's build a building. Let's just build something. Let's build something. But his plans crumble because then there's this cloud up above and the same voice with almost the same words that came at Jesus' baptism. This is my son, the beloved. With one added phrase, listen to him. Boy, don't we need to hear that? Listen to him. We go to God with all of our prayers and we have a lot to say and we sing our praises to God and we talk about theology and go to Bible studies and stuff. How often do we listen? Just listen in silence for God's word to us. So how and why did this happen, and why is this story even in Scripture? I know that your logical mind is right now thinking to myself, wait a minute, was this a dream? Did this really happen? Were they like ghosts? And anyway, how do you know it was Moses and Elijah? Did they have name tags on? I mean, how did they know each other? And how did Jesus know them? And how did all this happen? And what did the voice sound like that came? How did this happen, and did it really happen? Well, I think it happened because Jesus wanted to show those disciples and us that he is so much more than what we imagine, and than what we ever can imagine until we see him face to face. When he was talking about God's kingdom, they thought he was talking about an earthly kingdom. When he was talking about being a Messiah, they thought he was going to be a political Messiah. When he was talking about loving other people, they thought he was talking about very concrete stuff, the way human love is, instead of the amazing agape love of God that he showed in practice his whole ministry. We just don't get it. We need his help in understanding who he is in our lives. And so, add mystery to mystery. They're coming down the mountain. It says he ordered them to tell no one about what they'd seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. Don't miss that. Can't you see them? They're trudging down the mountain. They're totally in shock, thinking about what just happened, processing it. And then Jesus says, oh, by the way, don't tell anybody until after I rise from the dead. Nobody had risen from the dead. They're like, excuse me, risen from the dead? You're going to like rise up? What does that look like? So that was just another mystery. But he said, but anyway, don't tell anybody. Okay. Nobody's going to believe you anyway, right? Here's the significance for Jesus. When God said, you are my beloved son, he confirmed his sonship. Did you ever think about that? Jesus was misunderstood by his parents. He was betrayed by his disciples. They often didn't understand what he was talking about. The religious leaders tried to trip him up all the time. They were thinking he was a blasphemer, a false prophet. They were trying to get him. And God says, this is my beloved son. Don't we need to hear that, you and me? I mean, when we look in the mirror, Do we picture ourselves as beloved children of God, or do we look in the mirror and see all of our faults, all the ways we fall short? We see that we neglect our prayer life. We see that we walk the walk of discipleship in a pretty poor fashion every day. We know how much we fall short, and we look in the mirror and we should put a little sign that says, "You are my beloved son or daughter. Love God." That's what we need to hear. At this time in his ministry, Jesus is getting ready to go to the cross. And the same phrase that he heard at the beginning of his ministry, "This is my beloved son." Affirmation of where he was going. God loves us. It's unconditional, no strings attached. That's what he said in that moment. And then he confirms the course that Jesus is taking. You know, I love the show American Idol. I hope it's going to start up again soon. I think it will. Does anybody else like that show?
March 11th.
March 11th? Thank you.
On ABC this time.
On ABC.
I think you need to watch me.
I'll catch up with you after the service and write that down. Okay, I like American Idol. You know, the people go up there and sing their hearts out, and they just, you know, there's bravery in singing. I just think there is. But then the judges get to give their opinion. And I like it when they say, "That's a yes for me." And then the other judge will say, "That's a yes for me too." You know, when God says, "This is my beloved son," that's God's yes. And for every one of us, God's yes is there every single day for us. He's for us. He's on our side. He's guiding us, helping us along through the challenges of life. And the challenges of life are very real. But we're not alone. He's guiding us. He's on our side. He's God's yes for you and me. So here's the significance for the disciples. The disciples witnessed this, and in order for them to be powerful in their witness for Jesus Christ, I think they had to see this moment of his holiness, to know that he was more than a teacher, more than their friend, more than their leader. He was the holy Son of God, truly the Messiah, in a way that they had never imagined. Because, you know, the fact that those 12 went and told people what they had seen and wrote the stories down, that's why we're here today. Somebody told and told and told, and finally somebody told you, and you believed, and you're here today. That's just amazing to me. They saw it with their own two eyes, even if they didn't understand it. They heard God's voice, even if they didn't comprehend it. And they were there in that moment with Jesus. They saw it, they heard, they witnessed it. You know, I haven't ever been to the Grand Canyon. But those of you that have, you've seen it. You've heard the wind blow through the trees. You have been and stood on that land. You can tell others about it in a way that I never could. I might say, well, I've heard it's a great place, it's a nice place, but you've been there. These disciples could go and tell people, I was with Jesus Christ, I heard God's voice, I saw him, I saw it, I was there. Every single one of us has testimony to share. Moments when God answered your prayers, times when God came through in a powerful way in your life, times when your life was turned around. Only you have the power to share those stories for other people that need them. I can't share your stories, I can only share mine. And so I think that the disciples had something special to share, as we all do, and it gave power to their witness and testimony. That's part of the significance for us. This isn't just a story that happened 2,000 years ago and we say, oh, that's really cool that that's in Scripture. I don't really understand it, but that's pretty awesome that it's there. Do you believe it happened? I do. I don't understand it, but there again, I don't have to understand to believe, do you? I don't have to understand everything to believe it. The story reminds me of several things that we need to be reminded of. We need to look up. You know, we can get so caught up in just the daily grind of going through the motions and worrying about what we're going to do later. Oh, I got this coming up next week, and financial stress and stress with children and all my things I got to do. We forget to look up to Christ. We forget to look inside at the Spirit. We forget to get in tune with the one who gives us life. And boy, when we forget that, everything becomes kind of going through the motions for us. Christ brings to life our work, our relationships with people, the purpose of our days. Sometimes we forget that. In addition to looking up, I think sometimes we have to look down. The disciples didn't want to do that. They didn't want to go down the mountain. Peter's like, please, let's build tents. Let's stay here. I just want to stay here. Have you ever gone on a walk to Emmaus, or maybe a spiritual retreat, or you've been in some time, you read something in Scripture, you had a moment maybe during a sermon, and you had one of those moments. It's like, oh my goodness, wow, I really feel close to Christ right now. Wow, I really felt God touch my heart in that moment. And you want to stay there. But then you got to get back into the humdrum, back into the busyness of life. You got to get back to normal. We can't stay in those comfortable places. I mean, it's so nice to be here on Sunday mornings, to hear praise music, to be with fellow believers, to pray, to be able to talk about our faith openly and unashamedly. And then we got to get back in our cars and go out in the community and put our community faces on, you know? Oh, that we could keep our Christ face on and not put a mask on. And look around at others like the disciples did and be about the work of the Lord. There's a story in the Old Testament that when Moses went up to get the Ten Commandments, and every time he went to be with God, his face shone. People could tell he had been in the presence of God. I wonder on Mondays if people could tell that we have been in the presence of God on Sundays. Don't you hope that shows in your life? That your Christianity, your faith relationship with Christ shows on a daily basis to your family, your friends, the people you work with, the strangers you encounter? I hope so too. So sometimes we just have to look down around us. But the real thing this reminds me of is that we have to look more closely at Christ. I'm thinking about how much we maybe put him in a box. We think we have him figured out, like the disciples did. We've read the stories in Scripture. We've come to church since we were little. We've professed faith in Christ, and we've checked off the salvation box. We go to church. We're Christians. We check, 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 check. Is that all there is to it? No, there's so much more. The disciples here, they've been with Jesus 3 years. They think, oh, we've got the answers now. He's like, let me show you something else. Wow. You know, I think about this with my cell phone and computer. I have an iPhone something. I don't have the newest one. It's a good one, fairly good, I suppose. I don't use it very much for all the stuff that it supposedly can do. It's got all the apps on it that it came with. You know what I use mine for? I check the weather each morning to see what the temperature is in Seguin, and I have to tell you, I didn't like it today. Amen. And then I check email, and then I check Facebook, and that's pretty much it. And then when I get to work, my computer too, it has all these things that can, you click on the thing. Whoa, there's all the stuff it can do. You know what I do? I do email, I do Facebook, and I write documents on it. That's pretty much it. I don't do anything else on my computer. Maybe with our relationship with Christ, there is endless possibilities and opportunities for us to connect with Him, to deepen our relationship, to know Him more. And you know what? We've narrowed it down to 15 minutes of prayer in the morning, and now we're in church on Sunday, and, we've got it in a neat little compartment in our lives. Lent is a perfect time to go deeper in our relationship to Christ. I mean, is He still the same to you as He was 5 years ago? Have you grown in your faith? Have you deepened that relationship with Christ? Boy, Lent is a time to look into our hearts and see, where am I in relationship to Christ? Am I just going through the motions? Is it a daily, vital part of my life? I think about driving, too. I have a 5-speed. Part of the reason I like that is because when my daughter comes home to visit, she can't drive it. That's really good. She can't drive a 5-speed. That's good. Shai says, why'd you buy a 5-speed anyway? Because you can't drive it. No, I didn't say that. But you know what? You have to fully engage when you have a 5-speed. You got one hand on the steering wheel, one on the shifter, and I drive mostly around town in Seguin. You got one hand ready for the clutch, and you got one hand on the accelerator. So you got to be constantly engaged all the time. All the time. That's why I want to be in faith every single day. I want to be fully engaged, using all my senses all the time. You know, when you're driving a 5's big boy, if a car suddenly stops, you got all at once, you know, push that clutch, push the brake, you got to be doing things. We also own an automatic. And you know, when we go out through West Texas on trips and stuff, you know, you can just stick that thing on cruise control, can't you? 85 is the speed limit. The roads are as straight as that. The next exit is 67 miles and there's not a car on the road. Hit that cruise control and just go. And once it's on cruise control, you can do anything you want. You can do a little jig down there. You can just turn around. You can, you know, whatever you want to do. Check your phone, whatever. No, don't do that. But you're fully disengaged. The car is just going to go on its own. It's on cruise control. There is a real danger of cruise control in the spiritual life. That we can just totally disengage. Christ is with me. Hallelujah. I'm saved. I'm just going to go through my life now knowing that He's with me, and that's pretty much it. I wonder, what would Lent be like if we said, you know, I'm going to take this to another level. I'm going to pray for 15 minutes more. I'm going to give $10 more in the offering. I'm going to go to these extra Lenten Bible studies and worship services that I've never gone to before. I'm really going to try to read an extra chapter in the Bible every day, which I've never done before. I don't think anybody's ever been sorry that they gave more, prayed more, worshipped more, or served more. Do you? What a way of expanding our understanding of who Jesus Christ is for us. And Lent is a perfect time to do it. Don't be on cruise control spiritually. Be fully engaged, ready for what Christ may do in your life every single day, what He might be inviting you to do in the future, how you might serve, writing a note to someone on the prayer list, how you can touch other lives. Just imagine how Christ can use us if we're ready and if we're open to that. Well, my prayer is for us that during Lent we'll take a close look at who we are. That we know that we are beloved children of God. Our faults are forgiven. We have unconditional love, and we are free to be who Christ has created us to be. But my other hope is that we will imagine Christ leading us up a mountain and saying, I want you to take a fresh look at who I am to you. Just see all I can be for you. And imagine. Can you even imagine seeing Christ when you get to heaven? I mean, we've probably got a little image of what He looks like, you know, white robe, you know, whatever you think He looks like. Boy, are we going to be surprised when we get to heaven and see Him face to face, I think. It's going to be like, whoa. That's possible here, too. To see Him in His fullness, if we want to, if we pray for it, if we try. That's my prayer for us during Lent. One day we'll be transfigured, too. And we'll look like Him, and we'll be like Him, and we'll be different than we are now. But in the meanwhile, let's receive Christ in all of His total love, His total awesomeness, and be ready to share that with others, just as the disciples did when they went down that mountain. I pray that this may be so for us. Let us pray.